Welcome to Academy Live. At Pax8, we really like to push boundaries and do the innovative new thing. And today, the thing that we're going to be talking about is the MIP transformation. That's Managed Intelligence Provider. So, our guest today is Chance Weaver. He's our VP of AI Adoption. I'm really excited because if you haven't seen the buzz, we released the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook, and that's going to give us a lot more of a strategic guide around how do we approach this revolution, evolution. I know we've had that conversation here in the past. How do we actually get there? So, if we want to be the architects of this AI powered transformation, then we need a little bit of lowdown on how we get there. So, first up, I want to load up a clip from our CEO, Scott Chasen, talking about his thoughts on the MIP transformation.
Welcome to the era of managed intelligence. When your expertise becomes the gateway to intelligent execution, this is going to change everything. How you serve, how you scale, how you lead. This is the rise of the managed intelligence provider, where we leave behind their rigid APIs and brittle integrations and step into a world of context-aware agents that reason, adapt, and act in real time. And for vendors, that means products that think. And for all of you, it means transforming from service provider to strategic partner. And for SMBs, this unleashes agentic labor. Pricing models shift too, no longer by the seat or by the hour, but by outcomes and the impact. And consumption itself is initiated by machines acting on behalf of people. I call this model the Managed Intelligence Provider Playbook, and it translates vision into action. And in this new world, everything comes back to one idea: transformation. Every business, large and small, must change or risk being left behind. Your role as an MIP is to illuminate the path forward, to guide that transformation. And here's the truth: all the wealth creation in AI, all the real value, will come through this great transformation.
Well, let's create some efficiency right now, not waste any time. I'm ready to bring on everybody and bring on Chance. So I'd love to welcome everybody back into Academy Live.
All right. So, Chance, welcome. I've been waiting to get you on the show. We're going to be talking about managed intelligence, the agentic inflection point, the playbook that just released. But let's start with you. I'd like to hear a little bit about you, a little bit of a humble brag, how you ended up in this role at Pax8.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I mean, Rex, we've known each other for a long time. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. I love talking about AI. I love talking to partners. So you know a lot of my background. I was an MSP. I built an MSP based out of Southern California, a very successful company. We became part of New Charter Technologies in 2021, so I sold my business. And I worked inside of New Charter running the Microsoft practice and AI strategy for that organization at a much larger scale. So running, a relatively small but successful MSP and then working in a large national organization. And we were the 11th acquisition. I think they're up to 39 or something like that now. Great company. But I decided to retire in December and I was out. So my humble brag is that I was able to retire and I don't have to work, but Pax8 gave me an exciting opportunity to help partners in a place that I think that they're struggling. So now I'm back. I'm with Pax8, which was kind of interesting. Never thought I would be with Pax8, let alone on this side of the fence. But I'm the VP of AI adoption for Pax8. So my job is to help partners sell, implement, and monetize AI technology. And, it's a very exciting time. Obviously, it's moving at the speed of light, faster than any other digital transformation that's happened, any other, technology shift that's happened since we've been doing this. And just kind of really excited to be here. I'm having a really good time.
Yeah, I've been pretty open about my own journey with this AI thing, right? Like 2024, I just was in a quandary of whether I wanted to be part of another, whether you use evolution or revolution, but it's definitely transformation of how our industry serves our end customers. beginning of 25, I decided, you know what, this AI thing is real. It really is a transformation that's coming at us. And I decided I'm all in. And I've been having a blast during 2025. And then, in June at Beyond, we talked about the agentic inflection point. This thing is getting all worn out, man. I've been through this book over and over and over. And then in October, I guess still this month, over at Beyond in Amsterdam, we released the MIP Playbook. And I know you had a ton of input into this playbook. Can you just introduce it to us? Tell people where they can find it.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to the Pax8 website, pax8.com. It's like right on the front page of the website, and you can download the playbook. Really interesting. The agentic inflection point was the why behind AI. Why MSPs really need to look at transforming their business and what the transformation means. Managed intelligence provider was introduced to the community, and the playbook is some of the how. It's things that you can do right now to move towards that, becoming a managed intelligence provider and starting to implement both AI transformation internally, but more importantly, AI transformation for your customers.
Yeah. I want to dive into a couple of big questions I have, but you brought a couple slides. Let's take a look at those first.
So the agentic inflection point, we talked about it. It's the why. It's kind of interesting. A really funny story around this, and I think I might have told you this, Rex, but it's interesting. I'm relatively new at Pax8, so my first week at Pax8, I was exposed to this document, and it kind of, just like that when Scott released it at Beyond, I was caught a little off guard. It's pretty forward thinking, and the timeline that he's talking about, it wasn't the timeline that I was expecting. He was kind of like, hey, look, you got to move now. The world is changing. What some of the things that we're going to see are full AI organizations, within the next year that are SMBs that are competing with enterprise at scale because of artificial intelligence. And so, and then he the managed intelligence provider moniker, it rubbed me the wrong way at first, to be honest. I kind of got into a little bit of an argument with Scott over it. And to his credit, we got a room full of people together, some really high level people at Pax8, and we discussed it. And it was when he actually was able to explain his take on it, and then I was able to see how well it landed at Beyond. I'm pretty excited about it now. Like at first I was like, are we going to add something else like MSSP to the community and confuse everybody? I don't think so. I think this is actually an endpoint for managed service providers and other companies that are just starting up out of the gate. That it's a place where they need to land to be valuable to their customers because of the way that this movement is happening.
I totally agree. Yep.
So now this is kind of interesting. I always tell, I have a presentation that I give at a couple of different events, and you talk about. I keep hearing different things from MSPs, but a lot of MSPs are telling me, why, I'm afraid of this. Like I don't know what to do. Like I don't know what the next step is. And my whole thing is, well, you need to start talking to your customers about it now. You need to at least be able to go and have an intelligent conversation and start guiding your customers because they want it, and they're already doing it with or without you. There's all of these AI startup companies that are popping up all over the place, and your customers, some of the departments like marketing will say, oh, hey, we can get this tool right now, and they're calling those companies. And by the time the MSP finds out, it's already halfway through the implementation phase, and they didn't have any input into it at all. So you have to do it now because your customers are doing it individually. There's individuals, the organization that are using AI. They're not doing it the right way, and they're definitely not doing it securely. So it's so important for MSPs. They're the most important, I think, organization during this transformation period because our customers need us so bad as an MSP to be able to guide them along this and do it the right way. Otherwise, it's putting their data at risk. You used to worry about the bad guys getting in from the outside and what was your firewall and what was that protection. And then you had zero trust and all of that capability. Well, now you have to worry about the guy in the cubicle next to you. The data has to be protected and segmented. And we'll talk a little bit about ways to do that where you don't have to break the bank for the SMB and show true ROI out of the gate. But really important, I think, to know that you got to move now. So MIP, what do you think about this whole thought here? I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. You've seen this.
On
What
the
do you think about
the
it?
broker versus the builder.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, that's one of my big questions that I want to get to is everybody's saying, well, how am I going to monetize this? How am I going to monetize this? Right. And I, the playbook, it takes a big step towards starting to answer that question. But a big part of it is, that's coming at us fast. We really only have a few partners that are starting to figure out how to monetize it, and even they're still a little bit in the experimental stage. But that doesn't mean you don't need to be moving as fast as you can, trying to adopt it right now. That's my thoughts. And I think the builder versus the broker, right now, I think most MSPs don't write a lot of code, right? So the builder thing completely freaks them out. So I don't know. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I totally agree. My whole thought is the first stage to AI, the very first thing an MSP should be thinking about. Well, one, you're sitting on a gold mine. Two, if you have a customer coming and talking to you about an AI, it is a prime time, a prime opportunity to have a conversation you've always wanted to have with your customer, but you've never been able to, or you haven't been really good at it. And that's a consulting conversation about really digging into their business and finding out what's causing them pain, what's causing them inefficiencies, what's keeping them from hitting their goals. And you don't have to be Deloitte to do this, and it's not super complicated. We're talking SMBs with the majority of our partners. So we want to give you the guidelines on how to have that conversation, and that's the beginning stage. That's the first thing you need to do. It's not even about AI, it's about understanding the customer's business, because then you can find where AI makes sense. And you might find a ton of opportunities in there having this conversation with your customers that aren't just AI. It might be automation, it might be business intelligence, but all of them lead down that path to true intelligence at some point. And so the MIP brokers, the companies that become really good at that, they don't have to build it. You can go to something like the agent store that Pax8 is developing and use agents that other vendors and partners have created and deploy them into your customer's environment and manage those agents. And you don't have to have the dev team to be able to build out agents. Now, the builders, they're the ones that are moving further down that path. They have some scale and capability to dedicate resources to being able to build custom solutions. And they'll be the organizations that are seeding the agent store and helping other MIP brokers be able to deploy solutions into their customers. So it's really, really exciting. My whole point is you don't have to have a dev team. You don't have to be able to even go out and build AI today. You do need to be able to start digging in and understanding your customer's business.
Yeah, totally agree. What's our next slide look like?
So yeah, first coming to Pax8, I got to tell you, and your team developed this, so I have to give you all of the credit in the world. I was like, I think we need to build out this consulting conversation and how partners need to do this. Oh, well, guess what? Academy already has it, the results selling framework. And I'm working with that team to add additional content where I think that we can, like business process mapping and things like that. But the base is exactly the conversation you should be having with your customers. And it gives you key points that all of your customers are experiencing payment. They want to grow their business, they want to gain efficiency, or they want to manage risk. They need to figure out something in their organization. And if you dive into the processes that relate to these specific functions in their business, you're going to find opportunities and measurable outcomes. The key is when you identify a problem inside of your customer, you tell the customer, and it's really a simple conversation. Okay, if we fix this, what does it mean from a money standpoint? Are we able to reduce headcount? Are we able to expand and grow further without adding additional headcount? Be able to scale without just throwing people at a problem? Be able to create or resolve an issue that's been causing customer pain points and causing churn for a long time. There's so many opportunities, but figuring out what it means from a dollars and cents perspective, that gives you the opportunity that we were talking about. How do you make money off of it? Well, there's MIPs out there that right now they're charging a percentage of the outcome. instead of charging the consumption of renting an agent. There's other MIPs that are renting an agent, but they're doing it at a price point that's related to that measurable outcome. So imagine building an agent for one of your customers or deploying agent for one of your customers, solving that pain point, identifying the business process, and you realize, wait, this is an HR problem that we can fix for our entire customer base. And now you can deploy it faster and easier. Or if you're the builder, you can just resell that agent that you've already built, but still charge based on that measurable outcome. Think about the profitability factor and the exponential growth and profitability around that type of pricing model. So there's an incredible opportunity to monetize this. MSPs are sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, and the reality is that the agent store within Pax8 is real. It's here. I think we have some beta partners taking a look at it. So it's coming fast.
We do. Yeah, it's in early access right now. We have partners that are working with us to evaluate that and to look at some of the different pricing structures and how we tie that into partners billing. All of that is being worked through right now, and we have a ton of vendors that were announced at EMEA that are working with us. So really excited about moving that towards GA, which we're shooting for Q2 of next year, and hopefully sooner than that. But it is moving incredibly fast.
So we're running a little behind. What's on your next slide here?
I think we kind of already talked about this. This is basically the MIP playbook that we talked about, and these are the things that you can do today. The discover and sell is a lot of the conversation that we've been talking about. The build, the buy, those are the opportunities to be a broker or a builder from the MIP perspective, and then managing. You have to manage endpoints, you have to manage users, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon. But now you're going to have to manage agents. There's lifecycle management. There's going to be MCP or authentication changes that need to be managed, and there's definitely security and performance that needs to be monitored and managed. So, MSPs and what we do isn't going away, but it's definitely going to evolve.
Yeah, I know through the 80s and early 90s, a lot of our job in the IT world was inventing new ways to use computers in business, right? And then we really tended toward this management thing. And one of the things that's exciting me is having a new era of inventing new ways to use this AI technology in business, right? Like that's kind of what we're going to be in for a little while. And then just like we learned the first go around, we're going to have to learn how to manage it.
Absolutely.
What's on our next slide?
Yeah, I'll touch on this really quick, and hopefully people can kind of like go and check this out. So one thing that you can do right now as an MS, you don't know anything about having this conversation, you don't know anything about AI in general. Well, Copilot Chat is free from Microsoft. And the programs that we're building out at Pax8 are vendor agnostic. But everyone knows Microsoft's one of our biggest vendors. It's a big part of a lot of MSP's business. Copilot Chat's free, and it operates very similar to M365 Copilot. It's just not scanning the entire data estate. But if you're opening a Word document or Excel document, that document is still protected inside of the tenant for that customer. And all you have to do is flip the switch and turn it on. Give great opportunity for customers to go out and start using AI and using it in a safe way. And there's a bunch of content coming down the pipeline from Pax8. There's a contest that's coming, and there's and I'll we'll provide some additional links for that. But you can turn it on right now for your customers, and we're going to give you actionable prompts that your customers can use today and get benefit from it. And you can build agents. You can learn to build agents using it as well.
It's mind-boggling. Chance, I just want to thank you for bringing your partner perspective to these documents and the work that you're doing, not only behind the scenes, but out in the public. So thank you for that. I'm going to toss it over to Amanda.
Yeah, so exciting. I love the mention of results selling framework, near and dear to my heart. Somebody who helped put that into place. I want to go back to some of the key plays in this playbook. So we've got discover, we've got buy, we've got build, sell, and manage. Did I get that right? I think I did. So I'm curious to go back to the discover portion. I think what a lot of what holds people back is understanding how to do that discovery. So I like to return back to RSF and talk a little bit more about what kind of guidance we're giving them, or how does this sales methodology actually help them with that process?
Yeah, I love it. So there is some great content inside of the playbook, but we're going to dive a lot deeper into that. I don't want to call partners dummies being a partner myself, uh, but I was pretty dumb when it came to sales. Me, I'm not going to say that about anyone else, but we almost want to build out the, hey, how to find AI solutions in your customer for dummies. Literally actionable questions that you can go in and ask your customers to get them to start thinking about their business processes and to help you down the path of identifying the ones that you can focus in on. The one thing I want to drive home is when you do this, find one process, and it could be the one that moves the needle the most. It could be the process that you can implement the fastest to get a quick win. But when you think about it, if you're attacking a particular business process, you don't have to clean up the whole data estate, just the data that's related to that process. So let's say it's an HR process. Well, you have 3 people that work in HR. I have to license them for data protection. I have to license them for Copilot. I can build an agent that actually helps them do their job better. And then all I have to do is worry about the data that relates to that process. That's a much smaller chunk for an SMB customer to bite off than trying to do an entire data governance project without seeing any ROI out of the gate. So my thought is like start attacking it in smaller chunks. But result selling framework and what we're building from that and what we're surfacing to the customers or to the partners inside of guided growth and academy, that's the place to start.
Yeah. Outcome informed thinking, right? Thinking with that objective in mind, that outcome in mind, thinking about the problem you're solving, not necessarily, we definitely don't want to just start pushing tools on people. That's probably the worst thing we could do, right? It's always about what problem are we solving. Speaking of problems being solved, I love coming back to this Nick Hetty quote. I always come back to it: lead with humanity, scale with intelligence. Something near and dear to my heart, because I really like, part of what I do is help scale people up. I know, Chris, you had some thoughts around this, and sort of how we approach that side of things as we're scaling up our business. How do we scale up our people? So I'm tossing it over to Chris.
Yeah. Well, and Chance, we talked about this before. I think a big part of this is a mindset shift, right? We can talk about the tools, the technology, the security, the strategies, but I think it really kind of starts with having the right mindset. We talked about having the difference between an attitude of abundance or scarcity, kind of this is being taken away, we're going to lose jobs. Can you address a little bit some of the mindset elements, such as like, oh, it's not ready yet, or it's going to replace jobs and take away opportunities from us, or um, you know, some fear around what the ramifications are. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how people can kind of maybe uh, position or have a different mindset towards adopting AI.
Yeah, Chris, I love. I mean, we had a really in-depth conversation about this before, and I really enjoyed that conversation. To me, it's really interesting. There's two sides of that coin. The side, the fear side, like, hey, what's that going to do to my people? What's that going to do to my customers' people? Like, are we really going to be displacing people? And my thought process, yeah, there's gonna be some displacement with every technology shift. There has been displacement, but it doesn't necessarily mean people lose jobs either. It means that businesses can now scale without adding people. It means that people can be repurposed and stop doing the things that they really hate to do. AI is best for like annoying repetitive tasks, like, right? Like they say, when you're going in to find an AI opportunity, what's the soul sucking work that you're doing today is the best place to start with that type of question. So if you think about it from that perspective, I think there's an incredible opportunity for humanity as a whole to grow and expand and do things that are more creative rather than more mundane and repetitive. So there's that side of the house. Then the other side of the house is, hey, I'm going to sit on the fence because the tools aren't ready yet. AI is not 100%. It's not 100% accurate. Maybe if you're lucky and you spend a ridiculous amount of time and you're training an LLM, you might be able to get it to 90% or 80 or even 85%. Everyone's like excited about those. You're right. Like it's still evolving, but it's not stopping companies from moving on with it now. And it's kind of like every technology shift in the past. I think about, like, we started with Level Platforms as an MSP, as our RMM. Loved that product when it came out. AVG completely destroyed it and wiped it off of the face of the planet, but loved that product. But we started with that, we rolled with it, but we had to adjust and shift when it turned out that wasn't the product that was going to land long term. So it's going to be the same thing. Pick the tools, the automation tools and the AI tools that you want to go with, that you're comfortable introducing to your customer. And then guess what? If it doesn't work out, or it doesn't end up being the tool to land, you're going to have to shift. But knowing what you knew going into it, it's a lot easier to shift to something else than start from scratch when everyone else is way ahead of you.
Yeah. I think those are some great insights, and I really appreciate our conversation earlier, but I'm really glad you can kind of share some of that now with our audience. And Amanda, I kind of want to pull you back in and kind of get some of your thoughts, because I know just carrying on some of the conversations we had and we can present today.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about how we in Academy can help these folks who are sort of doing that repetitive thing every day. How can we help scale them up so they are complementary to all of this scaling that we're doing? And we'll definitely be looking to chance for some of that leadership to help us figure out what are the missing components that we can give people and help sort of power up this AI revolution. I would be remiss though. I don't want to leave the show without making sure people know that all of the cool stuff, the stuff Rex held up, the stuff that Chance was referencing, we do have that in the show notes. So make sure you're going in, checking out the result selling framework, checking out the agentic inflection point, and of course checking out that new playbook. Those are all in the notes below. So make sure you're taking a peek. Anything else that you'd like to leave us with, Chance? Wide open stage.
I talked a lot about it. Like, move now, don't wait. Don't be afraid to have the conversations with your customers. Your customers are looking to you to have those conversations. As an MSP, you're needed now more than ever. This is an opportunity to make your customers stickier than they've ever been in the past. Our typical services, everyone can do a lot of the typical managed services today. This is a place where you can really shine and be a true advisor to your customer. You can be what we've always wanted to be to our customers, but we never were able to do it in a good way. Well, we're going to show you how to do it. And this is a great opportunity because the customer is going to be leading and wanting to have the conversation. So that's kind of my go-to thing is don't wait, get going with it today. And, Pax8 has some great content out there that can help you get started right away.
That's awesome. Make sure you check out that AI guided growth. That's also below. Check out all of those guides we have. Thank you so much, Chance. This was really cool. I always get jazzed up when we talk about robots. We really appreciate you being on today. Thank you very much.
Well, I got a quick question for Chance. Did you use AI to make that background, or like?
No, I told you I didn't have to work. So me and my wife decided to fly to San Carlos to work out of here for the week. So I'm in San Carlos, Mexico, and we're at a villa on the coast. And I'm excited to get off of work today. I'll put it that way.
Love it.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
That's awesome. Yes, go enjoy. We will stay here because we have a brand new sales pitch to take a peek at. So take it away, Keith.
Frank Robinson and Pete Rose, two great baseball players that went on to actually become player coaches. What does that mean? They had to lead their teams while still focusing on their baseball skills. That brings up the question, are you leading your team, or are you just hanging on to your old sales deals, trying to relive the thrill of your sales glory days? Every time you keep that account or swoop in to save the day, you're sending the wrong signals to the sales team. It basically tells that salesperson you're not ready, or I don't trust you, or you can't do it without your hand being held. You are not really managing your salespeople. Let's touch all the bases on the traits of great sales leadership. 1, coaching. Work with each salesperson, coaching to each of their strengths, weaknesses, and career goals. Great sales leaders coach to potential, not just performance, and help the salesperson be successful. 2, accountability. They set clear expectations, KPIs, and define what success looks like. They hold regular one-on-ones and team reviews to reinforce goals and celebrate wins. 3, enablement. They provide ongoing training on sales frameworks and buyer personas. They ensure sales reps have easy access to all their resources. including sales playbooks and objection handling guidelines. 4. Empowerment. They empower confidence. They trust their reps to make decisions and allow them to take ownership of sales opportunities. They also let them learn from their failures. They create a culture where reps feel valued and heard. Imagine a sales rep who gets regular coaching to sharpen their skills, knows exactly what's expected and how they're performing, has the tools and training to succeed, and feels trusted to own their own process and innovate. That's a rep who's not just productive, they're engaged, confident, and growing. That is what we do with Result Selling Framework coaching. Great sales managers, they sell through their team, handing off accounts, introducing new points of contacts to clients, and leading your salespeople. It's time to stop being that player coach and determining what role you want to be great in.
Thanks so much, Keith. Thanks again to Chance, our guest today. Remember all of those resources down in the notes. Make sure you check them out. We will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, like us on YouTube, and don't forget we are also a podcast. You can find us wherever podcasts are found. Very easy for that morning commute if you're still not remote. So come and join us next time. We will have more exciting guests for you, more Academy insight. Thank you all for joining us. Bye.